Hey everyone, testing out a new format. We're going to do a bit of a podcast style, but I'm joined by a special guest, Dave Werner. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
No problem at all. For those unaware, Dave Werner is the former creative director and sort of Atmosphir is his brainchild, basically. So yeah, how did all that come about?
Oh man, that was a while ago, but let me try to remember this best I can. Basically, I was working at the time at a design firm called Frog Design in New York, and just randomly got an email from a venture capital fund called Minor Ventures saying, "Hey, we saw your work online. We want to, create some sort of project. We don't know what it is, but we'd love to get your involvement." And so I flew out to San Francisco and never been out here before, and just kind of, talked to them, and it seemed like a really good fit. And particularly they were interested in, the idea of game design and creating a game. And so, basically I sketched out on the plane ride over the initial idea of what would eventually become Atmosphir. And it was kind of, hey, what if you could put platforms together like Lego blocks and, have things like flags and checkpoints and, coins and power-ups and all this stuff, and let users kind of mix those up to create their own, platforming levels. And that really resonated with them. And that's, just kind of a bunch of ideas, and, things evolved over time, but basically eventually became what we now know as Atmosphir. So it was a long process, but it's cool that the idea, the concept, that basic concept of level building and just making that kind of the core of the whole experience was, from day one, that was kind of the main idea.
Yeah, it's a really funny story about how you kind of drew it up on the plane. And UGC games have come a really long way since then. We've got stuff like, what was it, Disney Infinity, I think it was called, was a big one. And then obviously Project Spark was a thing. And now Mario Maker, that's a big one at the minute. You played that one?
Oh yeah. I mean, I play all those games, and I still enjoy all that stuff, and I think it's really cool. Like I just saw Dreams just came out for PS4. That looks pretty cool as well.
I've not really been following that one, but what's it like? Is it a bit more technical by the looks of things?
Yeah, it definitely seems like it's very open. I mean, it essentially seems like a game engine, to with all its pluses and minuses. So it seems like maybe a more approachable game engine for 3D stuff. But yeah, no, I love all those games. I mean, I played the heck out of Disney Infinity. My kids are playing Minecraft now. Certainly Mario Maker 2. Again, it's anything where I have a creative aspect, I will do it, and that includes a game like Fallout 4, where you can build a base as part of it. It's not really essential to the experience, but I'll definitely spend several hours doing that and making it a part. And I think that creative element has found its way into so many games, and that's just really exciting to me. I think when you can kind of add your own creativity and make a game feel more like it's personalized to you and you have an imprint on it in some capacity, I think that's always really cool, and I always kind of gravitate towards those type of experiences.
Yeah, I mean, that's something I've really been into since I was a lot younger. Like before Atmosphir, I was playing a lot of the roller coaster tycoon games. That's just like never touch the scenario mode, always just playing on the sandbox, making sometimes I'd make a big old theme park with a load of rides, and sometimes I'd just be like crashing roller coasters into crowds because you can.
Absolutely. Do that. Well, those edges are really what makes things. I think with any creative tool, Atmosphir included, pushing the boundaries of what's possible and kind of seeing where those limits are is always part of the fun. And I think with Atmosphir, we continually saw, like, when people reach the limits, they would ask us, hey, can we kind of break these rules or make these, different? And a lot of times we would, we eventually, early on, for example, the game was, blocks have to be in a specific grid, and, they have to go, in this order. And then people were like, well, can't we just kind of rotate them and move them and make them bigger and smaller?
It ruined everyone's lives.
Exactly. So it's interesting to see things evolve that way.
Yeah. So I guess the creativity aspect has carried on in your kind of career with character animator. You want to talk a little about that?
Yeah. So character animator. So I've been at Adobe for this fall will be 8 years, and I'm essentially working on a product that is performance capture animation. So you take a Photoshop or Illustrator file, so industry standard, illustration and design tools, and you then can control it with your face and voice using a webcam and microphone, and it allows you to do, just make animation a little more accessible, and also allow you to do professional quality animation much quicker than traditional rigging tools and that sort of stuff. So for me, it's been a perfect fit, and it's kind of touching upon a lot of this stuff that I enjoy and still love to do. I do UI design. I still do videos, just like, the Atmosphir days, tutorial videos, and a lot of illustration, drawing these characters and creating them, a lot of public speaking. So any given day is, a bunch of different things that I might be doing. And that's what, as a creative person, that keeps me excited to, keep coming back is kind of every day is a little bit different. And it's always kind of touching on a lot of different creative interests instead of just being a UI designer or just being a tutorial creator or something like that. So yeah, I can't imagine a better fit right now. I think this is, I love the product, I love the team, and it's been really exciting to see how people are using it. So similar to, Atmosphir, when people would upload a crazy awesome level that we had no idea you could even create with the tool. The same thing is very true with Character Animator. It's the same sort of cycle where we're seeing people just create the most ridiculous, amazing things. It continues to inspire me to continue to want to make the product as good as I possibly can.
I saw The Simpsons ended up using it for the first live version, which was pretty cool.
Yes, that was a huge surprise, and we didn't even know that was happening until we kind of saw the press releases, and then we kind of got a call the next day that said, "Hey, we're from Fox, and we're thinking of doing this live show in a couple months, and can you help us out?" And so, that was an awesome kind of first step into the broadcast world. Since then, a lot of other television programs have used Character Animator. So The Simpsons gave us a lot of street cred, I think, for that sort of thing. That was great.
Yeah, and I guess it's all kind of boiling down to the sort of simplification of tools so they're accessible. And I think that's really important in the creative space at the minute, because a lot of tools, especially like game design and things like that, are really complex. So a lot of people don't want to put the effort into learning them. But when you have something simple like Atmosphir, it can inspire people to do more research because they've had that opportunity to, get straight on with being creative.
Yeah, and that's always been, I guess, if you kind of connect the dots, that really is any project that I've worked on, that really has kind of been a common thread, I guess, in the types of projects that I've taken on, is wanting to make things that are traditionally hard and difficult and time consuming easier and more accessible. And I think when you do that, when the barrier to entry for these types of tools gets lower, you just allow more people to have their voice heard and tell their stories. And I think that leads to really exciting stuff. For Atmosphir, it was video game design, and instead of having to learn a whole engine and figure out all these very complicated 3D modeling and animation and stuff like that, you could just move things around like Lego blocks and make a level that you felt and tell a story that you felt proud of. And I think the same is absolutely true with Character Animator and the types of people that we're seeing who thought they couldn't do animation and are now doing it. So it's a really interesting thread that's kind of the types of things that I've at least tried to take on.
I'm actually going to kind of sort of steal one of the questions from the server now, because it's something I wanted to ask. How do you feel about, this idea of yours, how far it's, gone, how long it's gone on, how many people have, worked to keep it alive for all these years?
Oh, it's awesome. I mean, it's it's so cool, because I think with a lot of independent games, they kind of come and go, and the lifespan of a game, depending on the community and everything, things, there's a new game, there's so many games out there that it's hard for it's hard for a single game to kind of have a longer lifespan. And there's certainly tons of games that launched around the same time as Atmosphir, that you never hear of or don't have communities like Atmosphir. And I think what Atmosphir did, and we really did try to foster a community of creators and players, and these design challenges and all sorts of different things that we did. It's great to see that living on, and it's just so cool to my 8-year-old son. I've shown him Atmosphir, the latest, the updated version, and said, hey, this is the game I used to work on, and some people are still helping bring it back and doing some really cool stuff with it to improve it. And it's awesome. I mean, it is so it's just the greatest. It's hard to put into words, but it's incredibly overwhelming, I'd say. Yeah.
That's well, thank you for that, and thank you for sort of providing the platform for us to do that, I guess. But I'm actually going to move on to some community questions now, because I do have quite a few, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, no problem.
So, spinning off that, Ads asks, how is Cameron doing these days?
Thanks, Ads. Good old Ads. He was one of the most prominent longtime members of Atmosphir, so it's great to see him still being involved. Cameron is doing awesome. He is in 3rd grade now, and he is every bit as the creative kid as I was growing up. So, when he gets home, the first thing he wants to do is go to our, play area and basically get out the paper and pencils and tape and scissors and, create whatever adventures or ideas are, inside his head. And so he reminds me a lot of me at that same age when I was doing that stuff. So he's great, and it's been awesome to see him grow and kind of. And we also have a tradition of every weekend morning. He's a very early riser, and so the two of us get up and play video games in the morning. So we're playing through, all sorts of stuff. A lot of the Lego games right now. Lego DC Super Villains we just finished the other weekend. So
I guess that sort of answers a question from Nikki G. What games have you been playing? Is that mainly sort of games with Cameron then on the early morning, or is there any ones you sort of play on your own?
Well, those are definitely the weekend games. When I'm playing with family, it's the Nintendo games for sure. On the Switch, all of that stuff. For me, I'm currently I just finally started Red Dead Redemption 2. I've got such a backlog of games that I'm always at least 9 to 12 months behind, and usually more. With
You're gonna be getting a new Doom game?
Possibly. I never finished the first one. I did play, I played maybe halfway through it, and I don't remember why I stopped. I really enjoyed it for what it was, and Eternal looks pretty awesome as well. So I'm hoping to at least give it a shot. I mean, with things like with Xbox Game Pass, I feel like I'm more willing to try a lot more games, and so I feel like that has kind of opened the door to a lot of different experiences. But yeah, right now it's Red Dead 2, playing through that. And really, really enjoying the world and characters and stories they've created there, and just completely getting immersed in, being a cowboy and all that fun stuff.
It's always fun. Elite Black Dragon has asked, oh my gosh, this is going to be a struggle to read. It has a veritable plethora of temporal solar cycles. What is the current status in the colossal circumference of our global-shaped sphere of your familial and professional existence?
What the heck does that mean? Well, I remember Elite Black Dragon very well, and he was a fantastic community member. But as far as that question, what do you think he's getting at?
I think sure. It's just how you're doing.
Well, when you put it that way, I'm doing great. I am just as happy as I've ever been. Life is good, can't complain. Next week, I'm actually turning 40 years old, so it is kind of crazy that that I'm reaching that milestone. But yeah, life is good. I'm completely happy with everything. Life, family, job, everything is going great. So things are good.
Excellent. I've got a couple of Atmosphir related questions now. So we've got one from Phantom Boy. Hello Dave, first off, awesome work on Character Animator and all the videos you've done with it. Always enjoy the tutorials. Here's a question. In the early versions of Atmosphir, who provided all the voices and sounds for the various monsters and characters? Like, who did the Death Stall scream, the Mooka grunts, and were you the one who voiced Cameron?
Ooh, good questions. I'm trying to remember back to everything. And yes, Phantom Boy, nice to hear from you. I remember in the very early days, I did the voices just because it was, that was the easiest thing to do, right? So I remember, when you heard checkpoint and all of that stuff, that was me saying those things. I believe over time, though, as we got to the Mooka grunts and things like that, I think we contracted with some audio studios, some sound studios to do that sort of stuff. So I remember there was a company called Sounds Fun in Argentina that I know we worked with a lot for some of the music, and I believe for sound effects work as well, if I'm remembering correctly. So I think a lot of that stuff came from them, but a lot of times early on, I would do a lot of the sounds as placeholders, and it would just be either me saying things into a microphone or using the synthesizer or something like that to do the voices, and then sometimes those still stuck into the game, and all the music as well. The early days of the music was just all me on the keyboard, just kind of doing those themes and stuff. So a lot of the the themes that people know and love from the game originated from those early days of it as well.
And I'm sure they're going to stick around for much longer. I know we want to keep those in the game because it's just pure nostalgia. He also asks, with the deactivation of Blip TV, many older Atmosphir videos you've made went off the air. Off the top of my head, I know the Platform World 2 video and the Linden Sandcastle design video weren't on the YouTube channel. Is there any chance you happen to have a backup sitting around of some of the old videos?
Highly doubtful, unfortunately. So I made the wrong call on that, saying Blip TV was going to be a thing. I remember at the time I thought that Blip TV had a great, being able to have a feed of videos and, get that on your phone and stuff. I saw that as as exactly what Atmosphir was trying to do, is these frequent updates and videos. And so it seemed like that was the best place at the time to kind of do a feed. But in retrospect, I should have just put everything on YouTube. That's where I'm doing everything nowadays with character animator.
Google was going to eat literally every website on the internet.
Exactly. So it's unfortunately, I think those are most likely lost to time. And in fact, I feel like there's some videos even on the official Atmosphir YouTube channel that I've seen have gone delisted or unlisted or stuff like that as well, because I had some of them linked to my portfolio a while ago, and I noticed that they're not working anymore. So unfortunately, that's how things go sometimes, is you put stuff out there and it reaches its end of life. But hey, if anyone ever finds that stuff, feel free to re-upload it online and let me know. I could do a little digging around and see if I've got it, but I find it highly doubtful that it's on an old hard drive somewhere.
We've got one from Big Drip. Well, in fact, it's not less of a question, more of a statement. Big Drip 681 asking, why are you so freaking awesome? Also, my tie on a t-shirt has long since ended up in a landfill. It says hello from wherever it is in the world right now.
Big Drip. Yeah, he came and visited us at Minor Studios when we were there. That was great, and he wore that shirt with the tie. That's sad to see that it's gone. I would expect him still wearing it to this day, but that's how it goes. I feel like even my Atmosphir t-shirts, I feel like I only have 2 or 3 of them left because they get worn out, and it's funny. But thank you, Big Drip. I appreciate it. I don't feel like I'm any more awesome than anyone else. I just have been lucky that I've gotten a few breaks and gotten to work on some pretty cool stuff. So, but thank you for that. I appreciate it.
I've got one from Koi, or who used to be known as Freak Boy. Is there a feature you wanted to implement in Atmosphir but never got the chance?
Hey, Freak Boy. Tons of stuff. I think we had no shortage with Atmosphir being so open-ended. There were never a shortage of ideas. Everyone had their ideas of what they wanted to do, and we were only kind of limited by developer time and kind of priorities and what I decided as a team were the best next steps. I think in retrospect now, seeing what a game like Minecraft was able to do and take off, I think I wish we were able to combine the worlds of design and play more. Design mode and play mode are very distinct things in Character Animator, and I think it would have been interesting to continue to push on how do you kind of blur the edges between those, because I think what Minecraft does very successfully is make you start building without really thinking get into a full design mindset. And I think that's something that I think we could have done a better job with, and particularly adding in the multiplayer aspect of it too. I think when you add blurring the lines of design and play and multiplayer, I think those together would have made for some really interesting things. And then I think just storytelling tools in general. We had the info squares and stickers, and we were starting in that direction. But I think just more storytelling tools, whether that would have been cutscene creators or specific triggers that would allow certain story elements to unlock. I think the more we could have done with that, I think that has no shortage of ideas. And I've always been interested in the idea of interactive storytelling, and I think games are a fantastic element for place to do that sort of thing. So yeah, I mean, we could go on for 5 more hours. I could say all ideas, and I'm sure everyone has their own ideas that are equally as valid. So and pig flags, of course, pig flags. We that's the one that got away, unfortunately. So
probably because it was attached to a pig.
Yeah, touche.
Like talking about all the cutscene triggers and things like that, you'd be surprised to see what people have done given the amount of time they've managed to sort of disassemble the trigger system. Like I know one user managed to make their own HDR shader using triggers, and I know I've made my own custom boss fight using triggers and things like that. So the system is there. It just takes a little bit more time to sort of devolve in. Anyway, moving on.
Here.
Yeah, I've got a question from Dot Pie. What was your favorite moment in Atmosphir's history?
Oh man,
it's a bit of a tricky one, I'm assuming.
Yeah, there's so many high points with that. I mean, when we won one of the finalists to the TechCrunch 50 startup thing, that was a really huge moment. I remember that being, we were up against Dropbox and other things, and we actually beat them out. I mean, I still look at something like that and like, we beat Dropbox. That's insane. They had a really bad demo in that particular one. If I remember correctly, it wasn't working. Like the one thing it was supposed to do wasn't working. So I think they just had internet issues or something like that. I mean, obviously they're doing just fine right now. But that was just an awesome moment. Like, that was our first showing to the world. And, I got to, basically introduce Atmosphir to everybody. And we had, Robert Scoble and Sheryl Sandberg and others, critiquing us, and they had great feedback and said, it went well. And I just remember that being a really awesome awesome moment to kind of introduce the Atmosphir to the world. And then, a lot of my memories are honestly small things here and there. It's not the big flashy, we released this feature or this thing was cool. It was playing through a really cool level by, a 8-year-old or something like that who was uploading their first level and first getting interested in design or in game design, or a nice email, or sometimes people would come to visit the office, kids and fans and stuff like that, and I'd show them around and go to lunch with them. And those are the types of things I think that I remember the most, was just those kind of small moments. And I just look back at that, those times with a really fond memories. So it's hard. I mean, there were so many great moments in that time that it's I would say it's hundreds of little moments, most likely.
Gull is asking, will we get another extraneous lyrics?
Great question. Well, I finally brought it back last year, I should say, 2019, and did an animated version, and that was a lot of fun to do. And yeah, it's just a matter of time, really, and life and work and family and stuff get in the way sometimes of those creative projects we want to do on the side. So I think it's a fun concept. I always enjoy doing them, and I always enjoy that each year I try to do something different and challenge myself to not do the same thing over and over again. So I guess if I like the songs that year and I can find a new concept that I think works, I hope to do it more in the future.
Of course, it evolved from like just you and a guitar to you sort of self-inserting yourself into music videos, and then obviously finally the character animator version, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's funny to see, like, the first one still has the most views out of all of them, I think, combined. So that one, kind of hit a nerve when it first started. So maybe I'm doing the wrong thing by trying to add more complexity to it. But from a, creative side project, I think that's what you got to do is make it so it's creatively interesting to you. I think if it was just me and a guitar in front of a, white wall, again, I don't think it would be as interesting. And, YouTube videos have evolved since then as well. So it's a different world out there.
Of course. I've got one more, which is from Sebastian Law, and I guess it's not really a question, it's a statement which sort of applies to everyone. Not really a question, but I want to say that Atmosphir took a large role in making me want to hop into game development to the point where I now get paid to work on game projects. This game was a massive inspiration during my childhood.
That's I mean, something like that is worth every, is everything, right? Like a lot of times games, they come and go. It's we remember a few things from them, but if the game that I helped create helped you kind of forge your path in a career and where you are and hopefully you're enjoying doing what you're doing, that's awesome. That's more than anything I could have ever hoped for. So I love hearing stuff like that. I'm glad to hear that, and I've heard that from several people before. I met Roberto in person, Roberto Ritger, last 2 years ago, I believe. He came out and he's doing stuff with VR game design and was saying a lot of the same things, how he Atmosphir played such a critical role in that love of game design. So that means a lot to me. That really does, and I really appreciate you sharing that.
I guess that sort of wraps it up. Blimey, I've been recording for 26 minutes. This is on record for the longest episode of Jumpstart ever. Excellent.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you once again for coming on and coming to talk to us today. I guess I'll see everyone in the next episode.